Orange, you glad it's fall?
So today we're going to be doing a fall recommendations video. Alongside with that, I'm also going to be recommending spring books for all the people who are transitioning into spring, because while I love fall/autumn, however you refer to this season, I do know that a lot of people are not going into fall, but they might also want, some spooky recommendations, but they're like, I'm not really in that weather right now. It's really nice to also get something that will make you feel like warm and kind of like springy. I got this idea from watching Elliot from Elliot Brooks, and I will go ahead and link Elliot's video down below in the description, because I just thought this was a really smart idea and a smart way to kind of like cater to everyone. So I will link Elliot's video down below.
I don't actually read. Come on.
So how this is going to work is for every fall book I recommend, I'm going to also recommend a spring book. And the first fall book that I want to talk about is Pretty Girls. Pretty Girls is a mystery/thriller. Honestly, it's more of a thriller/gory that follows these two estranged sisters who kind of haven't talked to each other for years because their oldest sister, I believe it was oldest sister, got kidnapped or went missing when they were children, and that kind of like made their family fall apart. Years later in the future, one of these sisters is married to a man who ends up getting kidnapped on a night when they're like out hanging out, being lovey-dovey, whatever. That's all I'm gonna say for the synopsis, because I don't want to spoil you guys for anything, but this book is definitely all fall gore, whatever you want. The book is very much something that you shouldn't take lightly, because there are a lot of things that happen in the book that will shock you, that will scare you, that will disgust you. There's a lot of like body gore. There's a lot of heavy trigger warnings for assault, kidnapping, things like that, because this book, once you start reading it, it jumps right in. It's not a book where you're like, where's the plot? How are things happening? Like, what are things gonna, where are things gonna go? Stuff like that. The book starts right at the beginning. Everything starts right at the beginning. The story starts immediately, and you're jumping into what happened, who, what, when, why. Another thing about this is this book made me extremely creeped out. I remember when I read this book, I was so scared to go to work. I was so scared to go to the bus stop, because I was like, oh my God, am I gonna get snatched? I absolutely adored this book. The writing is phenomenal. The story is phenomenal. The mysteries, the plot twists, absolutely banger. To combat the heavy vibes of this book, I'm going to talk about I Love You So Mochi as my spring recommendation. I Love You So Mochi follows our main character, who is in love with fashion and loves all things design, and she ends up spending, I think, a summer break in Japan where she learns more about Japanese fashion, her culture. She spends a lot more time with her family, and she also, of course, gets into a very cutesy romance with a guy who she meets. I think he was like one of those people that like wears costumes and like holds up signs and stuff. I forgot what they're called, but this book was very cute. I read it really recently, and I loved the family dynamics. I loved the fact that her parents were very much familiar with the artistic side of things, which I feel like a lot of times when you're reading books about children of immigrants or about immigrant children, things like that, you kind of don't really get the perspective of a family that is already very well versed in taking the other route, the artistic route. So it's really nice for me personally to see a family that is normalized in, her wanting to work with fashion and her wanting to do this and that wasn't something that her parents weren't unfamiliar with, because I think her mom was a fashion designer or something along that sphere. Her mom was in the art space. I loved her relationship with her grandma, because when she was like doing the fashion stuff and trying to figure out what kind of dress she would make, her grandma was like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And her grandpa was literally the most adorable person on this planet. I just love books with very soft familial vibes. And if you're somebody who wants something soft and cute, this is definitely it. Also, the book did feel pretty atmospheric to me, because the main character and the love interest were kind of like going around trying out different foods, trying out mochi, and just kind of learning more about Japanese food. So I really loved that aspect of the story as well. Next, for a fall recommendation, I have Stalking, Jack the Ripper. This is a series that takes place in 1880s and follows our main character, Audrey Rose, who is an apprentice for her uncle, who works with dead bodies and works with all kinds of medical stuff. So while Audrey is trying to learn more about bodies and how they work, some murders start happening, and she and another student, Thomas Cresswell, decide to start investigating these murders, and that's kind of what the entire series is about. I really love this series, especially because of the slow burn romance. In this, I'm not going to say who, but y'all could probably guess. This book is honestly, till this day, the best friends to lovers slow burn that I have ever read. Audrey Rose and I'm just gonna tell y'all, her love interest were just so amazing and well suited for each other. I've heard a lot of criticisms with YA romance and things like that, with people not liking insta love or not liking when you can't really tell why two characters are together. If you want a series that's gonna give you murder, that's gonna give you mystery, that's gonna give you interesting and well thought out characters, and also an amazing romance that you will 100% be like, I know why these people like each other. I see them together. It's 100% believable. They've taken the time to learn about each other, to love each other. This is the series for you. Even though it is very like fall, very like spooky, kind of like atmospheric vibe. And it's just a really great book for like both murder, mystery, fall vibes, atmospheric vibes. And also, like, I'm gonna throw in the third with the romance, which you really won't get much of it for a while. So if you're like a back burner romance type of person and you want like plot, characters, friendships, things like that, this is a series and a book that you should check out. My spring recommendations go along with Stalking Jack the Ripper is P.S. I Like You. And this book is absolutely adorable. The book follows our two main characters who absolutely despise each other, but they share the same desk in different classes, and they start writing letters to each other, kind of like pouring out their hearts and talking about personal things without knowing that it's the person that they hate. And I just absolutely adore situations like this because it really goes to show that you don't really know the people that you dislike until you get to know them. And I just absolutely love romances like this. Casey West is such a great author when it comes to cute, fluffy, easy to read YA contemporaries. I have enjoyed every single one of her books. Yes, I've read every single one of her books, and I have loved them so much. This one specifically, the aspect of writing letters to somebody you hate and then falling in love with them is just a very nice, sweet thing, especially because it goes on in a school setting. And every time I think of like a soft, mellow school setting vibe, I always think about spring season because that's kind of when you're looking forward to summer, you're looking forward to spending time with your crush. And after I read this book and after I finished it, I kind of just imagined them having like a really cute summer romance afterwards. So Casey West, if you're watching this for any reason, please give us like a cute summer romance after this book. Okay, anyways, yeah, this is definitely a very cute spring book to check out, and I just really love it, and I hope if you read it you love it too. I highly recommend every single one of Casey West's books, but for spring this one is the one to read. The next fall book I'm going to recommend is Erased Volume 1. Erased is a manga series that follows our main character Satoru, who is a 29-year-old manga artist who is very unsatisfied with his life and the trajectory that he has taken into becoming a manga artist. He's not succeeding, he's very unhappy, he's just depressed and spends all his time being at home, being sad because his series are not being accepted.
ないと作品から見えてこないんですよ、あなたの顔が。
なんか薄い膜で覆われてるみたいだから。
But one day Satoru is enjoying his time, walking around whatever, trying to like relieve the stress of his life, and he finds out through some circumstances that happened that I won't spoil, that he has this amazing ability to rewind time and to go into the past. And so he ends up going back into the past when he was in elementary school, because back then there was a girl who went missing alongside a bunch of other students who went missing. And he now has the power and ability to figure out who was kidnapping these children and killing them, and how he can kind of change the course of time or how things happen.
63年。
俺はこのまま18年間をやり直すのか。
I originally watched the adaptation, and oh my goodness, when I tell you that the adaptation for this was absolutely phenomenal, I really mean that. Erased is absolutely one of my favorite TV shows ever, and so I had to check out the manga. This series is so atmospheric. It's very creepy, it's very spooky, it's very much like heavy heartbeat, because the entire time that I was reading this and also watching this, I was so nervous for Satoru and the other other students because I was like, oh my gosh, who's gonna be next? Who's gonna be next? Who's gonna be next? There's something about having that countdown and that like, oh my gosh, is he gonna be able to be in this world for enough time? Because there would be times when he would wake up and he's suddenly back as a 29-year-old. And I just really, really love Erased, and I feel like it's the perfect thing to read if you are a fan of spooky, creepy mangas or like adaptations and things like that. You'll definitely really love this. And to combat with that, I'm going to recommend the final book for this video, which is a spring recommendation, and that is Haru Ride. Haru Ride is about two high school students who fall in love, and it's just like a really simple story about them falling in love and dealing with life circumstances that are trying to pull them apart. I have only read the first volume of this, and I've yet to watch the anime. I actually just found out that it was an anime as well. It was just a very sweet and adorable read. Like the entire time I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for them to fall in love and be happy and to be cute. This is adorable, okay? That's all I can say about it. It's adorable. It's one of those that didn't give me a very weird vibe. It didn't really have that like extremely masculine male character that kind of forces our main character to do whatever he wants. You guys know what I mean. A lot of times with mangas, they have this weird vibe where you're kind of like, okay, this guy's like really, really forceful. And I didn't get that vibe from Haru Ride. It just felt very, very cute the entire time. But of course, like I said, I've only read the first volume and I plan on reading the rest of the series and watching the anime. But I really love you guys to read the first volume because it was just so adorable. And I just love it so much. I definitely want to pick up all the volumes, but seeing as manga is literally like $12 for one volume, it's gonna be a while before that happens. If you guys know any places where I can buy like cheap mangas, preferably used if possible, let me know. I have been scouring on Depop as I usually do, but yes, those are all the recommendations that I have for fall and spring for you guys to check out. Let me know if you've read any of these or if you plan to read any of these. I hope you do check them out. And if you've watched the entirety of this video, just leave me any type of emoji that you love, whether it's a heart, a star, whatever. Just leave a bunch of emojis down below because spring, fall, all these seasons give different people different feelings, and I want to know what kind of feelings these seasons give you. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys again for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!